What's going on, YouTube? You watch a Big Brother's perspective where we look past the surface and see the world for what it really is. And let's get to the truth. Now, before we dive into today's topic, you probably noticed the new name because for a long time, y'all have known me as Big Brother 749. But as I continue to dig deeper into these stories, far as the politics, the history, and the systemic issues, I've realized the mission has grown. I'm still the same dude, but the focus is sharper, and we're analyzing the perspective. And I'm stepping into the role of the big brother who watches the system, who's trying to watch you. So from here on out, this is Big Brother's perspective, the same energy, deeper truth. Now, with that said, let's get into why we're here today. Now, is it just me, or is there a weird pattern happening in DC right now? Because just recently, Trump accused the late Rob Reiner of having Trump derangement syndrome, which is a name Trump used for anyone that critiques him or the White House. But from my perspective, I'm seeing a different diagnosis today because by looking at what's been going on in Washington, D.C. this month, it's clear that Donald Trump has black derangement syndrome. He's so triggered by the existence of black excellence that he's trying to rewrite the very definition of American history to make himself the permanent center of it. And this is why he couldn't be no Democrat. And he knows it too, because the Democrats wouldn't have never allowed none of this shit to go on. That's why he chose to be a Republican, because he knows the Republican Party is weak and would allow him to get away with shit like this. And we got to look at these moves in order because things are getting crazy and bolder. And once you see the receipts, you can't unsee them. So the Kennedy Center just added Trump to its name. And here's what's crazy. The black Congresswoman, Joyce Betty, I think that's her name, said that when the board voted, they literally muted her microphone so she couldn't object. You know, they call it a unanimous vote, but she was screaming into a dead microphone. So why the rush to silence a black leader to get Trump's name on the building? Now, first, a lot of people want, a lot of young people, wonder who is JFK? Why does JFK matter to us? Now, first, let me just say that John F. Kennedy wasn't a perfect man, but he was the president who looked at the violence in Birmingham and finally said, this is a moral issue. And he laid the foundation for the Civil Rights Act, and he brought the arts right into the White House to celebrate the human spirit, not just his own ego. And don't get me started on the new Presidential Walk of Fame. Trump criticized Biden, and with Obama, he used his full name, Barack Hussein Obama, and labeled him divisive. He mocked his health care plan, calling it the Unaffordable Care Act and all in permanent metal. And this is the syndrome in action. He's so deranged by the success of the 44th president, the first black president, that he's literally tagging the walls of the White House with insults. It's an attempt to ensure that 100 years from now, his hate for Obama is going to be part of the official story. And with Trump receiving that fake award a few weeks ago, the FIFA Peace Award, that reminded me of when Rush Limbaugh got a Medal of Freedom Award, the highest award. And it's like we used to give these medals to Mother Teresa and Rosa Parks, and now we're out here handing them to guys who spent 30 years yelling at the radio. You want to give this to a Severine, but you settle for a redneck. That's stupid. And it makes me wonder, can they really give a unity prize to people like that, or people whose actions seem to divide people to undermine the law? And because this type of award should go to someone who actually brings people together. Because when I saw this FIFA prize, peace prize being given to Trump and the necklace and all that, I was like, they got to be kidding me. I wanted to believe it was a lie or AI or something like that, because you have a guy who just 5 years ago next month was seen behind a massive riot right in the U.S. Capitol trying to stop the government's official business. And what else is crazy is that I remember Kash Patel, the FBI director, was like, this is the most transparent administration and the most hard on crime president we ever had. And I'm like, are you for real? The director of the FBI said that about Trump. And I mean, of course, they got to say something good about him or else they'll lose their job. But how in the hell you say this man is the most transparent president you ever had and the most hard on crime when he didn't pardon freaking 1,200 rioters who tried to overthrow the government? How could someone who caused such a big violent split at home be given a prize of unity on a world stage. It just doesn't match up. I mean, FIFA gave a peace prize to a leader who caused division and violence inside his own country. And it looked less like an award for peace and more like a simple, you'll scratch my back and I'll scratch yours kind of deal. And all this just boils down to one simple question. Why is he so obsessed with forcing the world to acknowledge him as a peace or unity leader when everything he does divides us? And I think the reason for all this is because, of pure jealousy, because the award he really wants is the Nobel Peace Prize, which is the real deal. That's the one that really matters. He openly campaigned for that award, and one of the most recognizable people that actually won that Nobel Peace Prize was Dr. King, who won it back in '64 for his nonviolent struggle for civil rights. That's a legacy Trump can't touch, because deep down, Trump understands that trophy was totally made up. And like I said, he was campaigning for it, the Nobel Peace Prize, and when he missed out, the FIFA president basically invented this shiny, massive award and slapped his name on it. And it was like watching a boxing match where a fighter is getting his ass whooped and the winner gets a gold belt, but because they feel bad for the defeated fighter whose face is all swollen up, knots in his head, looking like Martin Lawrence when he fought Tommy Hearns, they give him a cheap gold belt. But that won't make him feel better deep down, because he knows he didn't earn it. And that's Trump. He didn't. He doesn't need to earn a trophy. He just needs the picture of a trophy. He needs the headlines that says Peace Prize winner, no matter how cheesy the media looks or how much the whole world laughs at the ceremony. It's all about the image, not the achievement. And when Trump also realized that he can't earn that legacy, he tries to erase it or degrade it. Because look at the proof, the most direct attack, which is the National Park Service schedule, where they deleted the free entry days of Martin Luther King Day and Juneteenth. They replaced them with June 14th, which is Trump's birthday. Now think about that. He's telling you that honoring Dr. King's dream would now cost you money, but celebrating his birthday is free for everyone. He's literally trying to replace the most sacred days of Black freedom with a day for himself. Now we're forced to pay to celebrate Dr. King's legacy in the end of slavery, putting a $35 paywall on Black history, but the parks are free to celebrate Trump, one man's birthday. And that ain't policy. That this is vanity and jealousy. He's trying to replace Black historical heroes with himself. And they also want a new narrative to where you don't have to look at the past at all. And that's why you got J.D. Vance out here standing on a stage telling people you don't have to apologize for being white. Now, I'm going to keep it real with you. Nobody was asking for an apology. We were just asking for accountability. We was asking why the mic was dead when the Black congresswoman started speaking. We were asking why was there a $35 paywall on Dr. King's legacy, but a red carpet for Trump. The government is putting a $35 fee on days that celebrate Black freedom. And the racism police, the ones that saying, oh, Trump's not racist, they're quiet right now, but they only show up to police the forms of resistance that they don't like. Now think about the way they attack the most prominent Black voices. They don't call the National Park Service policy racist, but when Al Sharpton or when Jesse Jackson spoke up, people who have dedicated their lives to civil rights, speaking up, they were instantly labeled as race hustlers or con men who were always looking for a score. They spend more time turning down civil rights leaders for their language than they spend condemning a federal policy that literally builds a financial barrel around the legacy of Dr. King. And Jesse and Al was cool with Trump back in the day, but ever since Trump began pushing the birther narrative against Obama and Trump became president, he changed and he became an asshole. And he took over and was diagnosed with Black derangement syndrome. And that's what it looks like. It's the move of a man who can't stand to be a part of history. He wants to be the history. He wants to mute our leaders, insult our icons, and tax our freedom just so he can feel like the only star in the sky. And because of all this, it feels less like making America great and more like making Black history disappear. And it makes me wonder, is this a strategy or is this or is it a Black deranged syndrome? You tell me. But this is Big Brother's perspective. I'm out. Peace.